We found that the people who put video into the proposals as a custom thing for their customers, they actually quadrupled the average ticket price overnight.
Where are these home service business owners missing out on business most often?
Well, everything meets at the follow-up. I'll explain why. It's probably pretty obvious. Follow-up is where you find out that the packages were unclear. Follow-up is when you find out that you quoted the wrong service. The good news is that most of your competition doesn't follow up. If you do follow up wrong, you can train your customer to ignore you, and it will go very poorly.
If you had one piece of advice you could give to home service business owners who are under $1 million a year and want to grow past that $1 million a year mark, what would you tell them?
I will say that the biggest piece of advice I could give is,
from cleaning windows to creating a powerful tool, Kurt built a system that helps businesses 10 times their sales and close more deals. And if you don't have it, you could be missing out big time in your business.
Welcome back to the Built Local podcast. Today we have Kurt from ResponsiBid coming on here. As soon as I met Kurt a couple weeks ago in a group that we're both in, I immediately knew I wanted to have him on the podcast. And after just a little bit of research into Kurt and watching some of the videos he's done, I quickly realized this dude he's just excellence through and through. You know, he graduated top of his class, business school. He considered professional mountain biking and then started a window cleaning company that was voted the most professional window cleaning company in the world 3 years in a row. And now ResponsiBid. So Kurt, how you doing today?
Hey, Clay, how are you? Man, that's quite the intro. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to have you on. And when we dive in, I want to go for people who don't know who you are. Tell them about ResponsiBid.
Well, as you mentioned at the beginning, I started with business college, and I was going to be a professional mountain biker, and then things started going all over the place. I had no formal training in software, no formal training in engineering of any kind. I was getting ready to start my mountain bike career and realized that, wait, I'm in a family. I don't want to do that. This is not family conducive. So I started a window cleaning and pressure washing company in the Phoenix area, and I just really wanted to push the limits of what was possible. So amid a bunch of other stuff that I did, we can talk about some other time, that was like really trying to push my customer service company that happened to do windows to a whole new level. I stumbled upon the idea at the time, this whole Amazon thing and eBay, those were really getting big at the time, and it seemed like something big was about to happen. And this idea of customer self-service was very new. At the time, people doing self-checkout at the grocery store just intrigued me, that people would do the job of somebody checking out their groceries. And so I realized that to really serve my customers better, I needed to be faster, and in the home service world, a lot of people don't even pick up their phone, let alone serve their customers. So that led me to just start exploring options. And initially, what I built for myself and not for other people was this idea of instant online quoting. But you can't just give a quote, because number one, I haven't built any rapport with you yet. And number two, when you get someone a quote, there's a whole gamut of reasons that they could be asking for. So I came up with the whole idea. I didn't come up with good, better, best, but I understood that's what I wanted to present, was good, better, best.
Yeah.
And that was a huge component in growing my business. And from there, it just took me down the road of like people asking me like, where did you get this? I need to have it for my company. And turns out that it's actually not a good idea to only give online quotes. And it's not a good idea to have customers curating the whole experience for themselves. But it did lead us in a direction that allowed us to really push the limits of what was possible and make something great for the home service world. So ResponsiBid was born, I would say, about 2 to 3 years after I originally built it out for our own 5-star window care company. And I've never looked back. It's been a crazy ride.
That's awesome. And you briefly touched on good, better, best. I know we've talked about that in a couple of different contexts. Can you kind of explain that to somebody who has no idea what that means?
Yeah. Actually, it's important in our industry, the home service industry. It's very common for a customer to call and for us to give them an ultimatum. And what I mean by that is that someone calls in and says, I want to get pooper scooping done in my backyard. And we say, okay, I can do pooper scooping for this much. And then the customer is forced to say yes or no. And in that situation, you have a 50-50 chance of closing that customer just by the alternatives that you've given, which is none, or not doing business with you. So it turns out that when someone only has the alternative of doing business with you versus not doing business with you, then what happens is that you leave this big gap of who will do business with you. And at the same exact time of leaving that big gap, you also are putting yourself at risk of being very comparable, meaning that the customer thinks that I asked for this. They gave me a price on that. I don't know if it's a good price. It could be an amazing price. It could be a horrible price. I don't know. I
Mm,
now have to get comparison. I have to call someone else, which introduces them to a whole new customer journey that maybe is better or worse than yours, depending on how much energy you put into your customer journey. So what we need to do, good, better, best, is we need to provide our customer with a couple different realities or realizations even. And
mm,
that is that I know you called me to have my poop scooped in my backyard, and we do that.
mhm,
But what we have found is that, do you have turf or do you have real grass? Do you have rocks? Do you have a pool area? I'm going to ask you a few extra questions just to make sure, because I'm not going to give you just an answer. I'm going to give you 3 answers. So if you want it just cleaned up every month, you have 1 pet and you're okay with it just being done once a month, sure, we do what the competitors do and, do it for this price, X.
mhm,
But what we have found our customers really love is that we come more regularly, and we always not just pick up the waste, but we also leave a sanitization uh,
mhm,
behind afterward.
mm,
Or we say, not only do we pick up the waste, but you probably don't want it in your garbage can. So we actually have a haul away service. So your world could look like this: once a month pickup. Your
mm,
world could look like this: twice a month pickup with the sanitization left behind. Or it could look like this,
yeah,
and that's twice a month pickup with sanitization, and we actually remove the waste completely. It's not even in your trash can. You'll never see or smell it ever again. Now, I'm making stuff up as I go. These aren't necessarily the packages that we would want to leave even in the pet waste industry. But my
yeah,
point is that, what have I just done for the customer? The customer is no longer in like yes or no. It's which of those options sounds like the right situation for you. See, when you're putting together your packages, you have the ability to curate an experience that the homeowner or the person who's asking for the proposal, they couldn't possibly. They don't have the experience. They don't know. Now they might have a vision of what they're looking for, and that's cool. We could, one of our packages at least should at least fit that vision. But we also need to help open their eyes to things that they may not have thought of,
mm,
so that they feel fully supported, fully seen, and are now able to move from research mode to decision mode. And that's what packages do.
mm,
Packages take us from, I'm thinking about having this service done, to I now have enough information. I can now move from research to decision. And if you're on the phone with them or you're on the email with them or whatever it is, you're communicating with them, and that switch flips. In the
mm.
moment that switch flips, you're the one that's there for it. And packages do that.
Yeah, geez, that's so powerful, and I don't think it's talked about enough in the home services, space. I feel like people get really afraid to raise their prices, or they don't do it for years and years and years. And the one thing we know is like customers are fracked out, right? So 20% or whatever will spend 80% more than the rest of them. And so having those packages puts so much less pressure on just giving a one price or whatever, so that you can get the additional money from the people that are willing to pay more and want the best, and you can still have people that you might have lost and they said no, but you can get them on another one of your plans. So how many home service businesses, if you just had to guess, how many home service businesses on ResponsiBid use pricing packages?
It's almost impossible to use ResponsiBid without doing it. So I would say if it's not 100%, you can sort of hack our system to not do it. But
Hmm.
once you experience giving a quote with packages, or we actually even make it so you can combine services together, we call it bundling. So
Hmm.
packages are within a service, and bundles are when you cross services together. So you called me for pooper scooping. We also have a sanitization service. Now I'm bundling. We also have, a pressure washing service, like maybe you do pigeon control, right? So yeah, we can take care of the pigeons for you and we can sanitize, but we also could pressure wash all the damage that they've already done, get all that cleaned up. So I would say if it's not 100%, it's darn like well over 95%.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, awesome. And then you said, it's not just you don't want to just give your customers an online experience, right? We need to have some other stuff there. And so, what all problems does ResponsiBid solve when it comes to not just instant quoting now, but what other things did y'all pick up along the customer journey route to kind of create a more complete solution for home service business owners?
Oh, that's a great question. And I'm going to do my very best to not like feature bomb everybody,
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
that is the problem with the software that's been around a while, is that we,
for
we
sure.
do a lot of things. But in essence, we help people to quote quickly, follow up flawlessly, and schedule smartly.
Mm,
So Usually people already have a CRM. Okay.
Mhm.
So you take ResponsiBid, you bolt it onto your CRM as like that front of the house selling tool that will make it really easy to turn what I know about what this customer's problem is as quickly as possible into a good, better, best package or bundle offering. Again,
Mhm.
we're not trying to give too many options. We want to make sure that we're quoting them quickly while they're in research mode, and we're hitting them powerfully with 3 easy to understand ways that their life could be. And if I
Yeah.
can give you 3 ways of seeing your life, you're probably now going to be in a situation where you're ready to move forward. So
Mhm.
we do that. Then we take that, and as soon as the customer is ready to schedule, depending on what CRM you have, we can actually make it so that ResponsiBid will take their selection and automatically create a work order inside of your CRM. Now the customers want to schedule. We're not done selling yet. The customer doesn't check the sales process off in their mind until they have done certain things. So a lot of people say, well, I got him a quote quick, but I couldn't figure out why I lost them. Well, the
Mm.
reason is because when a fish bites the hook, that's cool, but you still got to reel them in. You can't like let them swim forever or they're off. So what we do is we make it so that we have this technology in our software that will read the calendar of your CRM. It'll figure out what availabilities you have, where the other jobs on the calendar are scheduled, and it will figure out this person who's trying to schedule how big the job would be for any one of your crews, how close they'll be, and it'll actually recommend to the customer or the salesperson out in the field what time and date to offer the customer without regard. Like the software knows who is going to be scheduled to the job,
Yeah.
but we don't need to bug the customer. It's just I can get over here tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. arrive between 3:30 and 4:30 p.m. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Now, what happened on the back end is you say yes, and now we schedule it to the right crew, who has the right capabilities, who can work at the right speed to be done by the end of the day, and they will drive the least amount possible based off of what was already on your calendar. So ResponsiBid basically takes all that front end stuff, packages it up really nice so that you can get your answer to yes, get them in the schedule, and then hands it off to the CRM really fast.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, it sounds like more closed customers and a bunch of saved admin time and misrouting and stuff like that. So,
And of course higher prices. That's the people, so yes, obviously we say close more jobs at higher average prices with less effort. That's a big deal. That less effort part is huge, especially if you've ever worked in the office of one of these businesses. Like you wear a lot of hats. But the cool thing about offering many of these realities to a customer. So let's say this is pool cleaning, for example. Okay, I need someone to come clean my pool. Okay, cool. We're just like every other pool cleaner in the world when I give you that quote. But if I help you to see, like, yes, we do pool cleaning and we make it so you never have to buy another chemical ever again. We provide all the chemicals and we do all this and we do that, like, and you package it up in a certain way. What happens is that they didn't call you for this, but they left you with it. So what would have been X, right? If you would just given the quote. Now we not only moved them over to decision mode, but they have the money to spend for the reality that you've presented to them. So you've curated a great experience. So now we've found that when our proposals, this is an interesting statistic, when our proposals first added video, we found that the people who put video into the proposals as a custom thing for their customers, they actually quadrupled the average ticket price overnight. I know. I knew it was going to have a big effect. And this feature rolled out years ago. But what was happening is a sales rep would go to the house, no one was there, they would give a quote, and then they would leave the quote, even with good, better, best with ResponsiBid. Good, better, best has been here since day one.
Yeah.
When we added video, what we found is that people were having a better idea being able to see the reality. So the salesman would go around and go, see that really dirty spot right there? We can clean all that up. See that bird's nest up there that's blocking your gutters? See that thing on your front driveway that, you probably have tried pressure washing up and you couldn't get it up? Well, we can. And what would happen, and they would say, okay, so Mrs. Jones, I'm going to recommend to you the premium package only because all that stuff I showed you will disappear and we can have it done like in a day. Now we are scheduling about a week out, but you just click the button down below and you can schedule. They would add those to the proposals, and overnight people were envisioning their lives differently. And it was never a problem of whether spending the money was a problem.
Yeah.
The problem was they weren't seeing the value. Show that value, and you will find that, yes, you're saving admin time, and yes, you're going to be able to close more jobs, but it's that higher average ticket price that's like the one that comes from behind, taps you on the shoulder, and you're like, I did not even know.
You're like, heck yeah. Okay. That's awesome. That's a really cool feature. And that makes total sense to me. And if somebody's walking around my house showing me certain spots and whatever, I'm definitely more likely to sign up and give them my money than just getting a price. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Well, going back into the quoting process and presenting the price, where do you think most quotes go to die based off all the kind of information you have? Like somebody goes to the website, they get a quote. Is it the follow up? Is it, presenting the prices? Where are these home service business owners missing out on business most often?
Well, everything meets at the follow-up. I'll explain why. It's probably pretty obvious. Follow-up is where you find out that the packages were unclear. Follow-up is when you find out that you quoted the wrong service. Follow-up is when you find out that they're having a renovation done and they aren't going to be ready for this work until after the renovation. Follow-up is where you find out so much more than you found out. Even if you have a sales rep on site, like, yeah, you can do an online quote, and obviously there's a lot of blanks to be filled in at that point. If you want to maximize your sales process, you got to get on the phone and understand the customer better and speak to those pain points for sure. But even when you're first giving the price, what will often happen is that the reality won't come to life until they've actually been asked for their money. So it wasn't until you asked for my money that I realized I had to ask my wife about it, right? It wasn't until you asked for the money that I realized, gosh, I really don't think I want to have my windows cleaned right now until I can have you wash my entire house, because what's the point of washing my windows when you're going to come through with a pressure washer and get them all messed up again? So it's not until they have some time to sort of sit with it. If you don't close the customer right then and there, which obviously is the best case scenario, it's the 7 to 10 to 15 to 20 touches afterward that opens up, well, first of all, the ability to sell. If they've already forgotten who you are, you're not part of the process anymore. You're gone. If they remember who you are and you were the only one that understood their concern that they came back to you with, then you're the only one who can speak to that concern anymore. So the good news is that most of your competition doesn't follow up. And so they A, are getting forgotten about, and B, they aren't able to speak to whatever the new concern may be. Now, follow-up can be done very wrong, and I want to be clear about that. If you do follow up wrong, you can train your customer to ignore you, and it will go very poorly. The customer will not do business with you. You can train them to ignore you in several different ways. You can hit them too fast. You can ask about yourself. When can I get you on the calendar? When can I come see you? When can I book a job for you? I was out to see you and I have not heard back from you. And so I call it weeing all over ourselves. We have been in business 15 years. We have done the we, and you wee all over yourself. So hitting them too hard, too fast, and too much about yourself, and with too long of emails. Too long emails means, oh, you sent me too much emails, text messages. Oh, you're barraging me with something. Look, you want to get responded to, you want to make action. I'll tell you a secret right now. One sentence about them. And you can now send, obviously within social norms, you can send almost as much as you want. So, hey, Clay, I was out to see you and I wondered if you had any questions about the proposal. Clay, I got you your proposal. I put together what I thought you wanted. Did I miss anything that you wanted to see there? Hey, Clay, it's been a week since you got the proposal and I wondered if you were still waiting on quotes from other people. Hey, Clay, I was thinking about you today and I wanted to make sure you knew, I don't know that I told you about our insurance policy. Are you interested in making sure that our insurance meets your standard? Don't share it right away, right? Yeah. That's, I'm not going to read through a policy. No. Clay, I wanted to know if you would like me to walk you through our insurance policy so you understand why you're more covered with us than the average bear. Again, you are more covered with us than most other people. Sure, I'm talking about myself. Of course I am. That's the area that I know the best. But I'm asking you to uncover things. And the reason that I'm doing it is to make sure that when your switch is flipped, I'm there. And if I can end it with a question mark, that means that you engage with me. The more you engage, the more information I'm going to get, and the more committed they're going to feel to you. So all of these things, when you send an email talking about how many years you've been in business and what kind of hog's hair brush is on the end of your water-fed pole with deionized water using a 5-stage RODI system with sediment and ionic filters, your customer does not care, and they're glossing. And now the next email that comes is probably some other techno jargon about your BBB rating and your blah blah. Like, they can't do anything with it. But if you ask me a question at the end of like a 1 or 2 sentence message, those are the text messages you reply to. Those are the emails you reply to, because it feels like such a low commit. Yeah. But what's funny is it builds a ton of trust.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I hear all the time is people are so afraid of bugging their leads, bugging their customers, bugging that sort of stuff. So have y'all seen a number of messages within the first day or week that is actually bugging? Or is it just like, hey, people need to remember you exist, and the more you make them remember you exist, the more likely you are to get their business? Obviously, don't feature dump them and tell them about your filters and all that stuff. But what type of volume does it take to get somebody to move forward with you?
This is where it can take a little bit of extra social IQ or emotional IQ. I will say that almost none of us do it enough. And so unless you're incredibly self-aware, there's a good possibility that most businesses will err on the side of too infrequent. Certainly within the first week of somebody raising their hand saying, I'd like a quote, you have at least 3 or 4 opportunities before you've even come to the line. Now, that doesn't mean you won't tick a person off every now and again, because the personality styles,
Yep.
But here's my question. If you've ticked off 1 or 2 people for talking to them too much, how many people on that same spectrum are so grateful that,
Yeah.
thank you for not letting this fall through the cracks. I
Mm.
can't stay on top of this. So if you don't have a few people saying, whoa, back it off a little bit, then you're probably not doing it enough.
Yeah.
And because you're trying to find the middle, right? If we cater all of our communication to the people who want to hear from us the least, what happens is that you're alienating the vast majority. And I'm not even just saying the majority. I am intentionally saying the vast majority, because you're going to the lowest common denominator and using that as your litmus test. That's not a good place to start.
That's so good. Because I remember just a tactical example of this is that we were having an issue with show up rate to some of our sales calls and our demo calls. And we added texts and emails, and we added them more frequently. And we got more people to complain about the number of messages they got. Maybe we get 1 or 2 a month, right? But we had a lot more people show up, and very frequently on the sales call, they'd say, oh man, thanks for the text. I almost forgot about this, you know? And so what I try to explain to people when they're worried about bugging their customers is like, just imagine you're in your shoes right now. You're on their website. You are going to their website, and you're, in your right space of mind, hopefully putting in your name, your email, your phone number, what you want. Why would you not follow up with them?
Yeah.
They asked you for service.
I know. Well, if I can be really frank, and this is going to hurt some people's feelings, but I think hopefully if you just look deep inside, I think you'll find there's probably, if it hurts, there's a good amount of truth in this. A lot of us have a pretty low self-esteem. That doesn't mean you have no self-esteem, but we start these businesses, we want people to like us. We want our employees to like us. We want our customers to like us. We put out marketing that we hope people like. And look, I'm the kind of guy, I want to be liked. I'm the most Michael Scott person I know, right? And the fact is that if you looked really deep, I'll just tell you a personal story, and if it resonates with you, then you're my people, and if it doesn't, then maybe this isn't the problem for you. But when I started my business, I would go out and give a quote, and it was window cleaning, pressure washing, and a little old lady, elderly, maybe widow lady would call and ask for a quote for window cleaning. I would go out there, I would give her a quote. As I'm writing out the quote, then the price would come up to $250. No, let's just say. Automatically, I thought my mom or somebody else, I grew up pretty poor too. So man, I don't want to charge my mom too much money. And my mom would, I bet you I could do it for $100. I could just do it for, I could do it for free, like right while I'm here, and I would get into this headspace. What I uncovered over time is that the reason I started really liking my online quotes was that people would just say yes to stuff that I would show up, and this little old lady would say yes to an $850 window washing job that's going to be dirty again in 6 months. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Well, first off, my eyes were open to the fact that I was protecting people from something that they didn't need to be protected from. The second thing is that you sit and you talk with somebody and you think that we're friends. But if I give them a quote that they say no to, I'm going to take that as rejection of me personally. If this resonates with you, if you've been in this situation, that feeling of I've put a quote together and I'm already wondering if they're going to accept it or not. And I'm already starting to defend something that hasn't happened yet. If that's the case, it's really just a you problem. It's all between the ears. You've got to get that figured out. And my best advice I can give to someone in those circumstances is that these people that you are giving quotes to, they may find someone who's cheaper than you, and they may connect with you on a personal level, and they may not be able to afford it. And that's fine. But what does it say about all the customers that you're charging full price? If we're going to just go down that same line of questioning or philosophy or psychology, whatever you want to call it, does that mean that you're overcharging? Like, have you grossly overstated your value?
Mm.
Because the fact is that maybe if you're having a hard time sort of getting your hands around the idea of losing a friend, let me go down the honesty route and let's just be honest. Like, are your prices really worth it? And are you being dishonest to your other full paying customers by not, by doing your discounting or
Yeah.
whatever it may be? So just be careful with that. It's a very slippery slope, and it all comes from a good big heart, a good place, but it can get really dangerous really fast because then you start finding that, well, I've landed so many of these other old ladies. I don't want any of the other old ladies in the neighborhood to not be missed. And it turns into something that you can't understand why you're so resentful of yourself. Where is this coming from? And it's coming from probably a place of not really understanding yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, I know I've been on sales calls back in the day when I was getting started, when I would have people telling me about how they can't make payroll and they can't, do this, that, and the other. And I'm just getting all this sympathy and feeling bad. And you're like, okay, we'll just do it for free. You can just have review hours for free. Just enjoy, And I still have people that we've given years free to, that never paid for Review Harvest. But I think if you just play it out, it's like, if you're going to stay in business, you got to charge money, and you're not going to be able to serve anybody if you're not making any money. But it does come from that kind of place of a big heart. So that's good stuff there. But I wanted to go back to, let's imagine, like you said, you're a window washer, pressure washer, and I just started my business, and I'm like, okay, today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to create my 7-day follow-up process. If somebody gets a quote, what should that 7-day follow-up process look like? Just from all the, stuff that you've seen and know from ResponsiBid, what should that 7-day follow-up process look like?
That is a great question. It needs to be a mix. We need to have a mix of things in it. So email, text messaging, for sure. Now they need to support each other as well. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But other channels like mailing and neighbor mailing can be really important as well.
Mm-hmm.
So our follow-up process integrates with another software called SendJim. And we also use webhooks if you use a different provider. But the idea is that you can mail the 5 nearest neighbors that so-and-so, somebody near you got a quote and we'd love to meet you while we're out. Give us a buzz so we can come talk to you. These different mediums, mailbox, text messaging, and email, it allows the different personality styles to have a place that they're comfortable. Now, SMS is sacred. We use it sparingly and appropriately. We don't abuse the right to send people a text message. So keep that in mind. What you want to do is you first want to set up the very first ones very much around just getting them to the next step. So gave you your quote. As soon as you're comfortable, this is how you move forward. So I might send an email. Emails can be a little bit longer. There's a little bit branding opportunity in email. So that's cool. But a lot of people don't live in their inbox. I know I live in my calendar, my inbox, but that's me. And then there's other people who don't. So text messaging can be a really big support to that. So, hey, 5 minutes ago, I just sent you an email. I just want to make sure that it came through and that the spam monsters didn't get it or, whatever, just something a little cute probably.
Yeah.
It says, but now you have my phone number, right? So now I've given you another reason. Number one, I sent you a text so that you need to check your inbox. And number two, if you want to ever reach me personally, here's my phone number. Now, ResponsiBid can, schedule all this follow-up and have it all go for you. So what happens is that by the end of the week, if you just keep sending emails that are from you or text messages from you, probably two text messages on automation throughout the first week is probably where I would set the limit.
Okay.
That's that respecting the sacredness of the text message inbox. The emails can reference back to the text. If it's ever easier for you, here's my phone number. You got it. You can text me or call me anytime. By the end of the week, we bend into things where we're starting to try and understand why they haven't moved forward yet. Because this is irregular. Now, if you're in an industry like maybe HVAC, it's a big purchase. It may be a little longer buy cycle, but also it's kind of emergency in the middle of the Phoenix summer to get your HVAC. So you have to know your situation. But in the case of cleaning, it's typically a pretty short buy cycle. So if we've gotten to the end of the week and you haven't purchased yet, I need to start asking you new questions. So the questions are going to revolve more around the fact of like, were you still waiting on quotes from other people? I need to know that, because if you are, then we need to help you differentiate. Maybe you're getting all hung up on what the difference is between they call it this and they call it this. Is it the same thing? Hey, if you are comparing quotes, we'd be happy to to look at the quotes with you and help you understand any differences between them. No harm, no foul if you go with someone else. We know you'll make a good decision no matter what. We just want to make sure that we're as helpful as possible. Our company value, this is an opportunity to say, our company value is X. How can this be of use to you, right? Because again, if I'm going to talk about me, I need to finish it with how is it going to be useful to you? Insurance. Hey, I thought you might be interested. I ran across this article about the 5 biggest problems with using a contractor in your home. Thought you might be interested in this because I know you're in the decision-making process. Thought this might be useful to you. Again, saying it quickly and succinctly. Now, if I've sent you 5 to 7 messages in that first week between email and text, that's a lot. And it's a lot to come from one person. So there's one other strategy I recommend, and that is bringing in another person. So what happens is that, Clay, if I send you 5 messages through email and text and you haven't responded to any of them, it's probably time for me to start evaluating what's wrong with me, what's wrong with our relationship. Or if you've ghosted me, maybe it's just you've already moved forward and you're done.
Yeah.
So now we take it up to the next level, maybe midweek, maybe end of week. And I introduce, John sends you a text message or an email. And John says, hey, Clay, it's John down at ResponsiBid or Acme Cleaning Company. I was just talking to Kurt, and he said that he gave you a quote earlier this week. I work closely with Kurt, but if for any reason you need to talk to me, I do this down at the company, and I am more than happy to accommodate any way I can. It does 2 things. Number 1, it allows John to continue talking, but we're not into a black hole anymore. There's a 3-way conversation going on. I've brought you into it, and it doesn't have that same awkward feel, but it also gives a pressure relief valve to you, Clay. If I phrase it correctly, because email is going to be probably more like a paragraph instead of a text, which is more like 2 sentences. In that case, now you know what I do at the company, and I haven't tried to sell you anything. I just was in a conversation with Kurt, and he had mentioned that you were doing this. I thought you might want to have my contact information. Now Clay can say, when I was talking to Kurt and he was at my house, I did not like the way he looked at my dog. And, I'm really grateful you reached out because I just cannot bring myself to talk to Kurt because of this weird thing. Right. Or, Kurt was a little bit intimidating to me, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So we bring this other person in. Ideally, they're of a different sex. So if you have a female sales rep out there, I'm so sorry to say this, and I hate that I'm even saying it, but some people might not give as much credibility to a female service writer because of whatever reason. And that's their problem, but you can address it by having a male reach out. Likewise, a female could find a male to be very intimidating. And if it's a female, like office manager reaching out, hey, I know Kurt, our sales rep was out and he gave you a quote. My name is Jenny, and I just wanted to reach out because if you ever have any questions, I'm here in the office all day, every day, and I love my relationship with our customers. I'd love to meet you at some point. Okay, that will allow that person who is feeling sort of intimidated by the sales rep to have their pressure relief. So in my first week, they need to know who both of those people are. And both those people in their correspondence start talking about the other one. And that means that the person can jump in without any weirdness. Like, I ghosted you, now I feel kind of weird. And but the other guy came through, his price wasn't what I wanted, or I didn't want to go with this service. And now it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, thanks for not giving up on me, guys. I appreciate you guys. You guys have both been really helpful. And I don't look stupid now. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Wow. Oh man, I love that. And when you're trying to figure out your follow-up process, how do you determine what should be automated and what should keep that personal touch? Or when do you kind of add a human in the loop within that 7-day follow-up process?
Good question. Automation should always be triggering some sort of communication. So I always try to finish my automations with a question mark. Now, the time I wouldn't do that is when I'm confirming, probably just like, hey, we're on the phone today. Just here's a confirmation email to put on your calendar. We're going to, there are times when automation will take stuff off your plate. But if I'm trying to engage and I'm trying to make something move to the next step, I will tell them the path forward and I will give a question mark sentence. You can click this link to accept your proposal, but but would you rather talk to me instead, right? By doing that, you're allowing the customer a path forward, and that path forward may be that discussion. That discussion will obviously be hand-to-hand, voice-to-voice, email to email, very not automated. Now, I'm all for automation, and automation, as it builds engagement, is doing its job. But if your automation is hitting people constantly over and over with just how about now, how about now, how about now, well, you're not going to marry the person who is asking to get married on the first date, second date, third date, fourth date. Like that doesn't work. So we need to have, like you said, those non-automated interactions, but it's hard for us to remember to do those on our own. In fact, it's not even requisite. Like it would make no sense for us to try and just jump out of nowhere and bring something new up. The only time I would say that that's not the case. So if I have 7 emails and text messages set to go out, I would hope that all 7 of those point back to some sort of engagement of them coming back to me or moving forward. There's only one time I break that rule, and that is that if in the conversation that I had with them, they mentioned something that was outside of my 80% rule of normal. So I'm talking to somebody and they say, I'm having a renovation done and there's no reason that I would want to move forward until X or Y date and they're done. So in ResponsiBid and other automation softwares, it's possible sometimes too, but in ResponsiBid, you can literally go into the automation that's scheduled for that person and customize those automations. So the email, text messages, or whatever's going to go out to the customer, you can go in and delete that particular automation or reword it or add a sentence to the end or a PS to the end. That can be powerful too. That will hopefully not get them to engage. You're heard. I know you have a renovation going on, but I wanted to make sure that we're still top of mind. We're still good to go for this date. I know that you have your mom coming in town and you want to get this done closer to when she was in town. So in those cases, as long as they're feeling heard and you're just reminding them that you know what's going on, that's totally fine. That's not building engagement. But I would say that's definitely the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, how many times do you hear, "Oh, we're gonna be out of town. We're going out of town, so I'll get back to you when I'll get back to you in a week when we get back," and just being able to go in and customize it for each lead, I'm sure is very beneficial.
Oh, and changing the dates on those too. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like you said, we're gonna be gone for a week. If you hit them with 5 emails during that week, you basically are telling them I didn't even hear you, and you're
Yeah.
gonna love working with me as I mow over whatever you tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just basically says, "Hey, you said you're gonna be gone. I'm still gonna let my automated follow-up, hit you, and you know that I didn't listen to you when you told me on vacation." But when it
Yeah.
comes to, kinda looking at KPIs for, somebody's sales process, do you see most home service business owners need to put kinda their attention towards what part of the sales process is it? I mean, is it just like, hey, some people just need more quotes, or is it like, hey, you're closing 5% of the people you're quoting right now, like, we need to fix that? Do you see a kind of a common trend of what kind of KPI lacks the most?
Good question. So the funnel is an interesting thing. Like some people might say, well, if my close rate's low, then obviously that's the part of my sales funnel I got to focus on. What's happening in between these 2 points? Between the time I give the quote and close the job, my close rate's only 10%. Well, I would say in the cleaning industry, if you're at a 10% close rate, you probably do have a problem there. But that doesn't necessarily mean, like, I'm thinking about some people I know that have very, very high ticket businesses, and 10% is perfect for them. So I would say that's a KPI you should know and be aware of it when you're deviating, for sure. But I'll tell you the one that really gets me, and no one will probably even track this number, but the number of times your phone rings to the number of customers that you're working with. It is so common for people to not pick up their phone or respond to voicemails that they think they have a high close rate. And the fact is that your lead to close, I'm counting a phone ring as a lead, but if you're saying only people I talk to are leads, we're going to have very different numbers. So I would say if you're not including the phone ringing, and I get that sometimes it's spam calls. So if it's spam calls, root those out. That's fine. That has no place in there, but you won't even know unless you answer your phone, right?
Exactly.
So make sure that you are tracking that number, because there is a good possibility that your quote to close rate is fine, but the problem is that your lead to quote rate is low. And I just can't help but think that, because if I picked up the phone right now on this podcast and then we dialed 10 cleaning companies in my area, I am confident. I am so confident that 25% of them I would talk to, or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah, no, it's wild. And I think a lot of it is, like you said, spam calls, they get tired of it. And also they're out in the job, but I think there's tools. There's tools, one, to mitigate spam calls and stuff like that. And then if you're not answering your phone, like, somebody around you can be. I mean, train your kids, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Somebody answer the phone, because it is so crazy how many times we were just getting our floors. We just needed to look at something on our floors, or something wrong with our floors. And same situation. I think I called 4 people on the Google Business Profiles before somebody picked up my phone call. And then actually he came out and I was like, "Yep, this sounds pretty good. Let me talk to my wife about it." And then I was curious. I kind of forgot about it, honestly. And then like 3 days in, I was like, this is a perfect example. He hasn't followed me once. Like he has my phone number. He has my email. He's got everything. He hasn't followed up with me at all. That was a month ago. He still hasn't followed up with me.
And he invested the time in coming out there. Like that's the
Yes.
other crazy thing. He already has the investment. Like you're a hot lead with his investment.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, I was like ready to move forward because he spent 20 minutes at our place trying to get it up and like got up 20% of whatever, whatever's on our floor. And I was like, this guy's great. Like, yes, this is good. Let me talk to my wife. We'll get it scheduled. And then just never heard from him because I forgot. Yeah, it's crazy. But
Crazy.
yeah, so one other question I had was about seasonal businesses. I know that pressure washing, cleaning, depending on where you're located, there's a lot of home services that are seasonal. And I kind of heard an interesting take from you, I think, when I was doing research on this. So how do you, talk to seasonal businesses about how to prepare?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different kinds of preparation, right? Like, some seasonal people are shocked every year when they find out that they're gonna have to fire all their people for the winter. Like, and like after 20 years in business, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it happened again." And I'm being a little bit facetious here, but it is kind of true. The fact is that there's a training period before your busy season. There's a layoff period at the end of your busy season. And there's preparation period to grow during your spring season. So before the training period begins, which let's just say I'm going to use Michigan because Michigan, I was there in the winter one time and I'm like, whoa, I did not know how cold it could get. It was so cold. I was visiting a customer there and I'm like, you live like this? He's like, yeah, this is life. Oh man. So I'm in Phoenix, totally oblivious. So I go and visit. And I'm like, okay, when are you bringing everybody in? He's like, probably start putting out ads in February, start making hires by the end of February, because by March, we're going to be busy. I'm like, well, when are you training him? Oh, yeah, probably should do it a little bit earlier. So I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, when are you going to get all of your promotions and your emails ready to go out to your past customers, get people on the schedule? When you start making those phone calls? What do you mean? Like, that's kind of like, I don't know. How are you going to work on what bundles are the best bundles to present? Like when you can do the math to find out where you're most profitable, where you need to raise your prices. See, that's happening all winter long. Yeah. You wake up in December and you have no jobs. Yeah. Okay, cool. Take some time out for Christmas and New Year's and do what you got to do with the family. But like when you do get into the office, checking the hoses and the O-rings and making sure you have supplies, that's really just a small part of winter preparation. The big part is, okay, last year it looked like people really gravitated towards this package. How can I make the package more valuable? How can I charge more for it? It was, how can we get more efficient at it? Like maybe, think about that. And when am I going to write the email right now? And I'm going to schedule this email to go out to these particular customers in this particular area on what particular day. That sort of planning throughout the winter and the preparation makes it so that when you are training and bringing on all your new employees and getting customers going, your phones are already naturally getting busy and ringing. You already created a wave ahead of time to get people on the schedule before it was time, and or helped fuel that wave so that when you hire people, they have places to go work. But if you just let things happen organically, life is happening to you and you're not happening to life. And that's a really dangerous spot to live.
Yeah, geez, no, that's preaching there. I mean, that's what we'll tell people all the time. Championships are won in the off season, and it might be in the summer, and the NFL might not be. The teams might not be playing games, but they're still doing stuff. They're still doing stuff to prepare for one of the games. Because, like you said, like once it comes time and you're busy and you're training, you got employees. It's like the script is a little bit already written. There's almost so much you can do to right the ship, and so you got championships are won in the off season. You got to make sure that your team is set up to win. Once it does come crazy time. And one last question on seasonality. Do y'all see a lot of businesses that have recently or in the past like 5 years started to add on kind of a season when they're slow, a service during that season? So I know that's always kind of been around, but one thing I'm seeing like blow up like crazy, all our pressure washers are starting to do Christmas lights, right?
Yeah.
And so have you seen that as well as ResponsiBid? And like, is that hurting the pressure washing company when they're busy? Or, like what?
Oh, no. I have seen more companies revitalize with holiday lights in the pressure washing field than like I could even name. Like it's been huge. Christmas lights is great because the seasonality is such a perfect offset, and it's trainable and it's profitable, and there's just so much good about it. In fact, I know a lot of businesses that their holiday lighting is actually greater than their pressure washing business in terms of revenue. Where I see it become a real problem is when people start trying to take the peaks of their business and make them higher and take away from what their specialty is. So for example, I'm a gutter cleaner. I'm going to get a duct cleaning machine.
Mm,
And when people are getting gutters done, they're also getting ducts. So I'm going to get into their house and sell more. Okay, that actually can be done really well. But where it gets a little dangerous is where now you're taking all your gutter cleaners and trying to train them in the busy season with all these air duct cleaning
mm,
jobs at the same time. So you take the sunshine, it's time to make hay, but we're not making hay. We're building a new hay barn. I've seen people really cut their legs out from underneath themselves by
mm,
trying to do that. Now, you can do the same thing in the off season, unfortunately, is I see it with snow removal the most.
mm,
In snow removal, two takes on the same thing. In the winter, you're in Michigan again, right? And we don't deal with it in Phoenix. Let's say you're in Michigan and the freezing of the pipes outside, like winterizing all of your outdoor spigots. That's a thing. Now, makes no sense to someone like me, but if you've ever had a pipe burst in your house, it's important.
yeah,
So taking your techs and teaching them how to do that, driving around, getting it done, that's one set of skills, and it's pretty easily trainable, teachable, and the equipment costs aren't that high. Take those same window cleaners, pressure washers, and say, we're going to put a plow on the front of your truck and we are going to teach you how to remove snow. Different skill set, lots of different equipment. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't properly mesh.
mm,
And then there's, of course, the biggest thing snow removers always complain about is that they don't know before the year starts how much snowfall they're going to have or when it's going to happen in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, whatever. So what happens is it's a good idea in theory on paper, but until you have a proof of concept, it's really hard to roll something like that out because you don't realize you're going to ruin all the front suspension on all your trucks that you use for window cleaning during the snowplow season. And you didn't plan for that. And you didn't know that an employee who's really good at cleaning windows smashes cars with a blade as soon as you take away a little bit of visibility and starts hitting curbs and breaking these expensive, plows or even the frame of the car. So these are big bets. And these
yeah,
big bets have to be, you got to work with something called proof of concept. You've got to get out there and actually prove that the concept works and that it works for your area, your business, the labor that you're planning to use, the
mm,
planning you're using to overlap, not overlap, and equipment that's going to overlap. There's so much, and you
yeah.
got to know that it all works before you start rolling it out at scale.
No, that's a great point. I mean, stuff that people don't even think about. I mean, I wasn't thinking about the front suspension on your trucks, ruining the season on all their vehicles. So yeah, one last question I had for you. We can kind of close on this. Is if you had one piece of advice you could give to home service business owners who are under $1 million a year and they want to grow past that $1 million a year mark, what would you tell them?
You know, that's such a good question because there's so many things. I think that my first reaction would be you got to be friends with somebody who's done it before.
Mm,
You got to be friends with someone who's done what you want to do. Doesn't mean they have to have done it in your area. There's someone who's done it in an area similar to yours. A coaching program can be so valuable, especially if that coach has been in the field, especially if that coach is group coaching you with other people who have done it. I will say that the biggest piece of advice I could give is you will be shocked at how much what you're doing right now to get you where you're going right this second is going to be different from what you're going to have to do to get to where you want to go. You can't just keep doing the same things at every phase of business. And that's a surprise because you're like, well, it worked. It worked to get us up to 300,000. Yeah, but that won't get you to 400,000. And then but that worked to get us to 500,000. Why are we stuck? And the reason that you're stuck is because, and I've seen it so much, when a business is growing, the things that got them where they're at won't work anymore to get them where they're going. So keep an open mind. It doesn't mean to stop doing what you're doing. That's the other thing is once you've learned to juggle the bowling ball, the chainsaw, and the flamethrower, you now have to learn how to juggle with a new thing. That doesn't mean that you directly will have to juggle it. In fact, I will say that that's probably the biggest inhibitor of people getting past $200,000 or $300,000 is that you think that you got to learn to juggle 4 things now and 5 things now. But in reality, you got to learn to start managing people who are juggling 2 of those things
mm.
or doing one of them just really, really well and holding them accountable to it. Holding someone accountable is very, very different than you just grabbing it and saying, I'll do it myself and being limited to whatever work you can do in, a 15-hour day.
No, it's so good. I mean, I'm bad at that too. I'd be training somebody how to do something, and I am in the middle of something. And I convince myself, oh, let me just do this, and then you just realize you're taking that away from them in the future as well. Yeah, take the time, train somebody and hold them accountable. I love that. That's good stuff. Well, Kurt, I really appreciate you hopping on. For anybody that's interested in ResponsiBid and wants to find y'all, where can they find y'all? Where can they get in touch, and how can they get started?
Yeah, you can meet us at responsibid.com. I'm gonna give Clay a link that he can put in the show notes that'll click you and get you a discount on the software, because we do have a cool affiliate program, and anyone who joins our software can become a member of that affiliate program. Either way, if you just tell us, like in the chat feature, like, hey, I'm wanting to get a demo, or I want to get your software, I was sent here by Review Harvest or Clay.
Of course, yeah. We'll have responsibid.com link down below. You'll be able to click it on YouTube, podcast, wherever you're listening to this stuff. So definitely check it out. Kurt has been awesome to talk to and meet with, and he's been so beneficial for me as somebody that's trying to work on my software company that serves a similar avatar. He's been very helpful and a great person to know. So Kurt, thanks for hopping on, and hopefully have you on again sometime.
Yeah, thanks, Clay. I appreciate all your help too, man.
Yes, sir. See you, Kurt.